Well, hello, this is John Dobbs. I'm the preaching minister for Forsyth Church of Christ with an encouraging word. I think very few people know how to read a map anymore. In the past, maybe it's become a lost skill. In the past, I remember unfolding a map in the car and trying to trace the route that I'm supposed to take. And of course, the hardest part was then the biggest skill it took was to fold that map back up and for it to actually fold up in all the right places and look like it did when I first got it out of the glove compartment. But I was never very good at that. And the truth is, I've never been very good at keeping my path straight anyway. I need help. And nowadays, GPS does all that for us. We just plug in an address and we listen. I tell my wife while we're driving along, just trust the GPS. And I remember that doesn't always feel right. One time we were driving through somewhere in Texas, and I remember listening to the GPS and following the instructions and driving through a bunch of farmland and sure that I was lost. I was sure that the GPS was wrong, I'd get lost out in the middle of a place and only have a cow to ask for directions. But I came to a stop sign and I took a right and I was exactly where I needed to be because the GPS led me right there on the route that it knew and it wanted to take me. There was another time when I was coming across Alabama and I ran out of cell signal, so I had no GPS to tell me where to go, and I had to just keep driving until the signal popped back up, and then got me back on track. And so, even then, when you're off track, it redirects you and helps you get back on track. And so GPS is really awesome, and you might not realize it, but God's been our GPS all along in our life. And that's what Proverbs 3 and verse 6 says. It says, "In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight." In all your ways acknowledge him, and he'll make your path straight. When we do not pay attention to God, we get off track. And sometimes when we get off track, it's really hard to get back on track. And we end up with some experiences in our life that cause us guilt and regret and trouble. And so it's really hard sometimes to realize that when we don't acknowledge God's directions, we usually end up off track. And the whole world is off track, isn't it? I mean, I look around and see the things that are going on, the crime, the suffering, the pain, the aggression, the harm that people do to one another. It's a long way from the life that God calls us to live in Christ. It's so easy for me to point out the world all around me and how wrong they are. But what about what's going on inside here? What about what's going on inside our own heart? Am I acknowledging God in all of my ways? Am I seeking his input? Am I following his teachings? Well, the Bible promises that if I am, and if I listen, if I follow, that God will make my path straight. And I can be sure I'm on track when I'm paying attention to the guidance that God is giving me in his word. If we can be of any help to you in looking at the directions that God gives us and finding your way back on track when life has gotten off track, we'd love to help you. Just get in touch with us. We'd love to spend some time with you. So at Forsyth Church of Christ, we hope this has been an encouragement for you.